Welcome back, everyone. I'm the Depressed Duo, and this is Library of Ruina. Here's hoping that we can take this finisher off. So we'll bring in Roland, because obviously he wants to beat up on his hero. So we got Kayla's page, which is essentially all... Yeah, it's a discard set with Grace of the Prescript. Esther's page, Smoke build, and then a bunch of gunners that are all about discard. Alright, well, here goes nothing. Alright. If the character enters a new act after having manifested EGO, this reception manifested on the second scene. Alright, what's Roland gonna say? The red mist in our past glory still feels unreal. So you're the trials this place has to present to me. Alright. I don't think I can kill her until she transforms. So I could use this as an opportunity to... Oh, 2 infinite speed dice now. Alright. Onrush, huh? I'm gonna just have to take it. I don't have a way of dealing with it. So as long as I don't get staggered, I'll be okay. I have blunt bonus right now. That doesn't really matter too much. Alright, so we're gonna do that and multi-slash. Make sure that's in the right order. Well, actually, it doesn't matter, it's a range shot. Bayonet combat. Not much else for you to do there. That's a lot of focus fires. Single use. I mean, this would reduce everything there. Alright. Alright, so I can intercept this with deep drag. And then do multi-slash afterwards. Alright. Alright, good luck. Okay, we can. Her HP is doing some weird shit. I'm seeing it going up and down constantly. There we go. So I need to do 61 damage. I just have to survive. 61 get through 61 damage here. Alright. Okay, good news. Yeah, all of our costs got reset, which is good. That's the key thing, is the cost of our cars reset back, because originally they went to 0 by the time she transformed, so all of our dice were just wrecking us. Okay, let's do this. Can't do anything else with this. You literally can't do anything. Like, nothing. That's a really bad hand. What are you doing? You're just doing that. That's fine. I'm gonna use this. That's probably not enough. Alright, and we'll do Smoking Pipe for that. Alright. Sure, bayonet combat. And you... combat with reload. You know what? Just use your switcheroos. If you happen to hit, you'll inflict paralysis, and honestly, that's more than what we need right now. Alright, here goes nothing. Ugh. Oh my god, that attack. Increase match HP. Uh-huh. God, that staggered everyone. Okay, good news is she doesn't have that repeating attack thing. Bad news is everything else is bad. We're just gonna do that and hope. Down. Pulsation, that's gain strength. Sure. Alright. So that's going there, that's going there. I have to survive that level slash. Which the only way I'm going to survive that was... You don't have 7 or more smoke. Alright, what do you got? Shock round, and that's it, because you got staggered. That's gonna kill me. Alright. So you have to somehow survive that. I mean, that's my highest defense one. Alright, what are you doing? Just do that. Alright, here goes nothing. Oh my god, thank god for guns. So no, even against infinite speed, as long as it was a melee strike, I can outspeed it with range or a mass attack. Yeah, that was messy. I'm glad you were I'm glad you had multiple attempts, because doing that all in one go is pretty rough. I did get an achievement that said that Bina has long dead. Alright. Alright, Book of the Red Mist. Hey, you got some Twinkling Analysts. Good for you. And also a hot-blooded brawler. All right. Yeah, that AoE was a problem. I also had just the worst starting hand. Like, I started with all my 3-cost cards. All my 3-cost discard 4 cards in my hand, which is not a good start. Alright, well, let's go ahead and curtains close.
붉은 안개가 휘두르던 시뻘건 검과 두르고 있던 옷은 역시 에고인 거지?
붉은색의 검은 운 좋게 추출한 초기형 에고로 알고 있어. 물론 그것도 누군가의 처절한 죽음으로 만들었지. 칼리만이 제대로 다룰 수 있었고.
그럼 옷은?
그건 칼리 본인이 발현한 붉은 안개만의 에고야.
하하, 발현한 에고의 성능이 전부 저 정도라면 도시 먹이 사슬이 뒤집어지겠군.
너도 이제 알겠지만 모든 에고가 저런 힘을 지닌 건 아닐 거야. 오히려 칼리만큼 에고의 힘을 끌어낼 수 있는 사람이 드문 게 맞겠지. 에고의 순도를 본다면 휘두르던 검의 위력은 초기형인 만큼 굉장히 질이 떨어지기도 하고.
저게 질이 떨어진 거라니. 그래서 좀 알겠어? 뒤틀림과 에고 그리고 환상체의 관계.
그래, 이제야 명확하게 보이네. 본래 백의 흑주 때 바라던 빛은 3일이 아니라 7일간 도시를 비춰야 했어. 그럼 도시 모든 사람은 개인의 돈이나 지위에 관계없이 자신만의 에고를 얻었을 거야. 최소한 덧없이 죽진 않았겠지. 세상과 싸울 힘을 얻는 거야. 그리고 발현한 에고가 소멸할 수는 있어도 그곳에 침식해 환상체가 되지는 않았을 거고.
그렇다면 뒤틀림이라는 건
나로 인해 계획이 무너져 빛은 3일밖에 발하지 못했어. 그 결과 불안정한 힘이 퍼졌고 다른 가능성을 품은 거야. 뒤틀림을 통해 발현한 환상체는 폭주한 자. 에고에 먹힌 거지. 에고와 환상체는 종이 한 장 차이니까.
뒤틀림이든 에고든 발생하는 조건은?
그 무엇에도 구애받지 않고 자신이 진정으로 원하는 걸 관철하는 것. 하지만 도중에 꺾이거나 절망을 자각할 때 자아가 흔들리며 그 감정을 받아들이지 못해서 뒤틀림이 발생하는 것 같아. 열망이 강하며 순수할수록 뒤틀림이 더 커지는 구조고, 아직 확실하지는 않지만.
그렇다면 이상한데 도시에서 꿈이 꺾이고 절망하는 놈들이 한두 명이겠어? 네 말대로면 지금 도시는 환상체나 에고를 발현한 자들로 뒤덮여 있어야 하잖아.
그래서 말했잖아. 자신이 진정으로 원하는 거라고.
그럼 말은 되네. 도시에서 자신을 위한 꿈을 꾸는 사람은 드물지. 행복보다는 적어도 불행하지만 말자는 생각으로 사니까. 날개, 조직, 해결사 모두 어디론가 달려도 목적지는 자신이 정한 게 아닐 거야.
철저히 자신을 위해 살아가는 이기적인 사람만이 그 힘을 얻을 수 있을 거야. 이기주의자. 뭐, 자격도 안 된 놈들이 힘을 얻는 것보다는 이 방식이 더 마음에 들어.
No regrets.
넌 그럼 이렇게 될 줄 알고 그 계획을 막은 거야?
설마. 난 그냥 죽기 싫었을 뿐이야. 살아서 복수하고 싶었어. 그뿐이야. 계획이 끝나는 대로 난 정지할 예정이었거든. 너무 억울했어. 그래서 빛을 빼앗고 받아들였지. 웃기게도 빼앗은 빛이 완전하지 않아서 환상체와 함께 도서관에 갇혔지만, 난 기계의 몸에 새겨진 명령에 따라 이곳을 벗어날 수 없었어.
그렇다면 책과 초대장은
뿌려진 빛을 다시 거두는 과정이야. 너라면 눈치챘을 거야. 이곳에 오는 손님들은 뭔가 다르다고.
내가 아는 도시 사람들과 다르게 뭔가 꿈이라는 게 있었지. 묘하게 정에 휘둘리기도 하고.
빛에 의해 영향을 받은 사람들인 거야. 그것도 강하게 받은 사람들.
빛의 중심에 더 가까이 있다의 개념인 거야?
아니, 빛은 모든 사람에게 똑같은 영향을 줬지만 그 중에서도 더 강하게 키울 잠재력을 지닌 사람이 있어. 초대장은 그 사람들을 가장 필요한 순간에 도서관의 손님으로 초대하고 있단 거고. 그리고 불완전한 빛을 긁어모으다 보면 초대장의 끝은 완전한 빛의 힘이 담긴 단 하나의 책이 되길 기대하고 있어. 그 책에 따라 나와 이곳 사서는 자유를 얻겠지. 그리고 인간으로도 살아갈 수 있어. 기계답게 살라는 말 따위 듣지 않아도 돼. 잊고 싶은 것을 잊고 살 수 있어.
그 과정과 결과에 대해 별다른 책임감이나 죄악감 같은 건 없겠네.
당연하지. 전부 자신의 손으로 거머쥘 수밖에 없는 거야. 난 내 것만 소중히 여기며 살아갈 거고. 롤랑, 네가 말했듯이 전부 각자의 사정이라는 게 있으니까 빼앗긴 쪽이 나쁜 거지.
오직 자신만을 위해서라.
Alright, the Patron Librarian of Philosophy Banat is now available. Will you enter the Book of Judgment Bird? I don't remember much about Judgment Bird. But yeah, we now have Banat. And she's one of the few Patron Librarian pages that actually have abilities and effects. I didn't even look at her passives. She gets +1, she has speed 3 essentially, and then has a unique key page and combat pages that cannot be replaced or swapped. There we go. I'm trying to scroll. Okay, whatever. Incomplete Arbiter. At the start of the scene, draw until 4 pages are in hand. That's kind of useful, except for the fact that she doesn't really have the light to work with that. Alright. And then, of course, we have some books to burn. We also have Nosferatu as our next book, which, as far as I know, is not something I don't recall that being an actual abnormality in the previous game. But more importantly, let's burn some books. So we want Book of the Red Mist. Here's hoping I can get it, because I really don't want to refight this. Got it. Good. Only Gabura can equip this. Unique EGO becomes available at emotion level 4 or above. The combat page manifest EGO is added to hand once per act. And then everything else is the same. Retaliate, all that good stuff. Alright. So this means Gabura has her own. Yeah, she's got her fancy little trench coat and everything. I have no idea what sort of build I would go with this. Wouldn't mind looking that up. Alright. Also, I'm a little curious. There we go. EGO, the weapon that corresponds to the mind of its wielder. The sword Carmen gave me was extracted from someone by chance. Giant eyeballs were attached to the sword adorned with crimson chunks of flesh. They watched my every move, almost to the point of making me feel a bit uncomfortable. Wondering if this was a product of some new singularity, I asked Carmen what the thing was. She only said that I'll have to get used to it, since there's little she can do about how it looks. Although it looked a bit creepy, it wasn't anything unbearable, and Carmen didn't seem to mind it as long as there were experiments to be performed with it. She added that I have to be careful with it, as it was thanks to sheer luck that the EGO could be extracted at all in its unstable state. I had a plethora of experience handling various workshop products, so I decided to take the sword without much hesitation. When I first had the sword in my grip, I didn't feel anything in particular. All I could tell is that it's just a big, heavy greatsword. Nothing out of the ordinary other than its appearance. But when I held the sword a few days later to protect a coworker of mine, I heard a voice. It was the voice of someone desperately yearning for something. Unfortunately, the meaning of that voice was lost on me. Rather, it wasn't even human speech. An awkward sound mimicking somebody. Noises of teeth grinding, bones crackling, mingling with flesh. Some things collide, fall apart, and mix in irregular patterns as if to mimic the way humans speak. However, that sound was too violent and sharp, the strong obsession of an empty one. Attachment. Void. I'm not sure what word I should use to define this. One thing I understood was that only I could hear that voice, and that it rang in my head rather than my ears. The stronger and clearer my aim to protect someone became, the louder the noise in my head got. Anxious that my mind might be consumed by the voice if I let it weaken my will, I tried my best to pretend that I didn't hear it. The eyes on the blade carefully observed me as I fought the voice in my head. The piercing gaze persisted as if to replace me. If I faltered even for a second, it made me feel hazy sometimes. The voice was only a bunch of grinding noises at the beginning, but it slowly learned to speak over time. Soon enough, it started speaking in a language that I could understand, though it stammered a bit. It takes human hide to protect human flesh. A shell. I kept asking for a shell. I couldn't stop the voice, so most I could do was ignore it. Even though there was a danger in using it, its power was formidable. With it, I had protected many a person and cut down many a threat. The voice became stronger and deeper with the more blood the blade drank. One day it asked a sharp question. Don't you desire a human shell as well? When I think back on it, the question might not have been aimed at me specifically. It would only say whatever it wanted to say. It wouldn't try to convince or allure me. All it uttered was monologue. Yet I was frozen stiff when I heard that. It kept saying something. Are our lives really worth the blood I spilt for them? It wasn't actually capable of forming such detailed sentences, but my head took it that way for some reason. Maybe I was thinking to myself. I denied his claim at the start. I had never provoked anyone first. I'd only acted to protect others from an approaching danger, but I felt a small part of myself waver from what the voice said. What will remain when I keep washing away blood with blood? A blood-stained shell would be all that is left. I collapsed for a moment, but I didn't stop thinking. If I broke down, I might be in danger, as Carmen warned. Carmen, right. Carmen would have been different. Nothing could possibly beat the glitter in her eyes that shines as she pioneers a new path. Those honest, virtuous eyes. Even when someone jeered at her speech, even when everyone despaired in the face of an obstacle that brought progress to a halt, Carmen never stopped looking after others. She would always take the initiative to lead all of them. If I could protect a person like that, maybe this place will change. Yes, as long as I could protect that one person. As my thoughts became clearer, I couldn't just sit down. My body acted before my head could decide what to do. I don't exactly remember what happened then. When I finally took a grip of my rationality in a vast mindscape and came back to my senses, my body was burning hot. Is this rage? Have I been taken over to the point where I can't even see ahead? But I felt so calm, refreshed even. My head was kept cool, while my heart leading the body was aflame. It wasn't long until I felt something was different. On solid armor, there was a layer of something tough and dense, but it wasn't fabric. A veil of mist was covering me. Astonished, I moved around and shook my limbs several times, and the veil dissipated soon after. When Carmen learned of this, she didn't say much. She didn't make a big fuss about it or suggest trying something with it right away. She only said that wielding this power is more important than simply manifesting it, so I shouldn't be lazy. She went back to work after leaving that peculiar piece of advice. Maybe she didn't want me to feel too much pressure. As more time passed, I could use the armor for longer and eventually got to draw out its full power. I had a weapon and armor that resonate with my emotions. Using them, I could protect more people, and I was able to draw forth more durability and strength. The researchers seemed to be struggling to make progress with their work, but it was alright. I believed in them to make it through, and I just had to be quicker to do my job in the meantime. However, not long after, the incident happened all too suddenly. No, maybe it wasn't so sudden. The sign was there. Just around the corner, I could hear a child crying. She's sitting in front of a door. One of the 2 children Carmen took in died in a failed experiment. Unlike Lisa, who was wary and reluctant to open up to us, Enoch showed interest in our research and volunteered to be a test subject the other day. Enoch's speech was so concise and on point, everyone was shocked. He wasn't afraid. He wasn't shaking. His voice was unswerving and gentle. Enoch's eyes weren't those of a naive kid. His words and thoughts were surprisingly deep and mature. Even I was astonished. I sometimes wonder what made this kid have such thoughts. His eyes seemed to have already seen so much of this world's despair and misfortune. However, it was still no reason to allow a kid to participate in the experiments. Carmen spent several nights agonizing over the matter. The experiment was authorized at last, though I didn't want to know what they thought of it anymore. What were they going to do, holding the hand of that little kid? I had to wonder if we were that desperate, but I shrugged it off. I wasn't one to stop him from doing what he chose to do. You should have been the one to die, the other kid, who was now all alone, mumbled, crying. Her words had no weight to it. She probably spouted what she didn't sincerely mean, because the situation was too much for her. Yeah, I should have died. Carmen's answer, on the other hand, was likely sincere. Everyone stood still. A crack appeared in our minds, which we never thought would crumble. Maybe we all expected it to happen deep down. Carmen's state worsened with each passing day, like a rusting nail. The sunny eyes of the woman who had brought us together were now cloudy, and she spoke less and less. Her voice was lifeless, and she had gotten so cold. It wouldn't have come to anyone's surprise if she died at any moment. She didn't bother trying to look okay. I think it was better that way. Everyone in the laboratory felt constrained in her presence. They viewed Carmen in different ways, reproachful looks of those resenting her for bringing them so far only to let go of her responsibility. Concerned looks of those worried that something might happen to her. And I guess there were some who had no thoughts. The research went on quietly, but not for long. A few days later, Carmen spilled out all of the guilt within her and plunged into it, never to come back up. And there you go. So, we also have... Let's go ahead and take a look at the Judgment Bird. Let's see what we got for this. The sound of its scales tilting used to give me the chills. Its scale was always tilted to one side. I wasn't sure if its judgment could be trusted. It is supposedly weakened, but we shouldn't let our guard down nonetheless. How curious to face a being lying dormant within a book in such a way. So, Judgment Bird, Unjust Scale. Starting with Scene 1, all characters excluding Judgment Bird gain 1 sin at the start of the scene. Sin can be transferred to an ally by attacking and damaging them. The weight of sin. All dice gain power equal to the amount of sin the target has. Judgment. If a character has 5 or more sin at the start of the scene, uses the special combat page Judgment on them. I'm scared. If this character attack, if this character's attack hits, transfer 1 sin to the target once per page. Piercing Shriek. After taking an attack, use the combat page Piercing Shriek next scene. So I'm guessing the idea is to balance the sin out to get extra power, but to avoid getting judged. Terrified Flutter, Terrified Flutter, Terrified Flutter, 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 and then counters, counters, and counters. Okay, neat. So we're going to go ahead and return to title and take a look at the other abnormality that's also waiting for us. Also, how much health did the Gabora? Yeah, it's just 105. And resistant to blunt and blunt stagger. Alright, Nosferati, what do you got for me? Doesn't it look sort of similar to us? It does. Doesn't really look like a monster. It seems to want something, kind of horrifying. It looks awfully starved, we better be careful. So we got the bats here. Fear of water. If the character has 1 or less blood, gain 2 strength. Okay. use different combat pages depending on the amount of blood. One blood is lost whenever the character sustains damage greater than 5% of max HP. Okay. Yeah, if the character has less than 5 blood, gain strength proportional to the amount of blood missing, so up to 3. So yeah, same thing for all these other ones. They get up to 2. If the character has 2 or less blood, use a special combat page, so it's going to open with a special combat page. If the character has 5 or more blood, use a mass attack, Banquet of Blood. Has a 3-scene cooldown. If the character did not use the page for the first 4 scenes of the battle, it will use it on the 5th scene no matter what. If HP falls to 50% or lower, shapeshift next scene. Does not go below 50% before this. So two-phase fight. Thirst. Alright. So yeah, these guys have digging teeth. If speed is 5 or higher, all dice on this page get +2 power. And they inflict bleed. Okay. No. And blood sucking. Okay, blood sucking, same thing. Speed 5 or higher will get bonuses. And then on hit, gain 1 blood. Next scene, inflicts 2 bleed. Okay. And then gain 2 blood next scene on use. Destroy all dice on page. Recover 10 HP. Gain 2 blood. If unattacked, this is new. So you have to attack this, else it'll just heal. If no sanguine bat is present, spawn 1 next scene. Okay, so that just respawns the bats. By the way, the bats are resistant to blunt and blunt stagger, and Nosferati is resistant to everything except for piercing. And then gain blood. Okay, kind of interesting. And then of course you got the infinite speed Gabura here. So yeah, that's pretty much it. The other thing to point out about Gabura's sword is the EGO that she uses is from, I think it was called No One or Nothing Here, is the abnormality you had to defeat, or you had to work on to get that sword EGO. And that thing, literally, his whole gimmick was like it would try to mimic humans and things like that, and it would actually disguise itself. It was also just ridiculously powerful to the point where if it ever escaped, it didn't actually have a death animation because the developers considered it nearly impossible to kill. It is possible to kill it, but it's not pleasant. Like even if you send the full rabbit squad, it could not defeat it. It was not a friendly abnormality to say the least. But if you were able to get its sword, it was definitely one of the most powerful ones. Anyway, with that, I'll figure out what I'm going to do for builds and all that, and figure out what I'm going to do next. So I am the Depressed Eeyore. This was Library of Ruina. I'll see you guys later.